Let's go to the pictures. Let's hear what's happening at Jantar Mantar before we resume the debate.
अल्लाह तेरे साथ में गुरु शक्ति तेरे साथ में गुरु शक्ति तेरे साथ में देश को बचाना है थोड़े भ्रष्टाचार से देश को बचाना है थोड़े भ्रष्टाचार से देश को बचाएंगे थोड़े भ्रष्टाचार से देश को बचाएंगे थोड़े भ्रष्टाचार से अल्लाह तुम आगे बढ़ो हम
Welcome back into our debate. We're keeping the call lines open as well to the next 1 hour. Welcome into this part of the debate, Ryan Karanjewala, senior Supreme Court lawyer, Manisha Priyam, political analyst, Krishna Prasad, my dear senior colleague who's editor-in-chief of Outlook, Mr. Krishnamurthy, thanks for staying back from Chennai, Vani Tripathi, National Secretary of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Nice to see you, Vani, tonight. Okay, let's go to Vani first. She's the only politician on this panel. You must be nervous, Vani, because this is going to eat into the BJP's vote bank if they launch a political party. They're anti-UPA, they're anti-Congress. They will eat into your vote bank if you're not careful. You've been playing with fire, haven't you?
I don't think so. We have to be nervous at all. In fact, it's a very welcome move. Because the main concern in front of the country today is this anti-corruption movement which the Anna team and also a lot of youngsters in the country have joined in. I think the nervousness would be on the part of the UPA, which has lost its story completely. We saw what kind of tamasha which has been happening around the Jan Lokpal bill for the past several months, which started on the 29th of December when the midnight drama happened in Rajya Sabha and they were doing lip service as far as the Jan Lokpal bill is concerned. If them joining the politics, which I mean Team Anna, if that means that this will take the anti-corruption movement of the country forward, it's very welcome. And also I think standing at the periphery and pointing fingers at the system can be a very easy task to do. Now that they have decided to join the fray, I think there will be much more things that they would also learn from how politicians function in this country.
Okay. Some people say they're a force multiplier for the opposition party. Which isn't very active these days. What do you think? Manisha? My question is to you. What will their relationship be with the anti-UPA parties?
At this point of time, the expectation that exists from the Anna as a political party, Anna team transformed into a political party, is really that of an equidistant force. So it is expected that they would stay at an arm's length both from the UPA and the NDA. However, by definition, the agenda itself makes it an oxymoron to call them a political party. Because if anti-corruption is the agenda, the issue of raising funds, they would have to be divorced, for example, from the ultimate test of a political party, which is winnability. Because winnability will ipso facto lead them towards asking from money through sources which can be clean and not clean. Because we don't really have a clean way of moving forward. So to that extent, they're changing from a platform to a political party. If they were to move on this agenda itself, that's something that I don't see moving forward in a big way. The second thing, that the equidistant modality has been adopted by political parties in the country that also express regional identities. They are expressions of regional sentiments. And the Anna team, if it were to turn into a platform, by definition, is a national equidistant force. So to that extent, how much it would be able to express regional sentiments, that would be a second question. So if it were to turn into a political party and if it were to be tested on the logic of winnability, I don't know how it would be able to move on still
this is a
with
sudden
the same
move.
Momentum and force as an anti-corruption movement.
So Ryan Karanjewala, senior lawyer of the Supreme Court. It's one thing. Do you think this move of joining politics, Mr. Karanjewala, is an acknowledgement to the limits of this indefinite fast strategy?
Possibly it is. Very often when a civil movement starts and takes a particular direction, there are times when it reaches certain hiccup points. At that time, all sensible people look at alternative strategies if they want the movement to continue. And joining politics is one such strategy. And personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They are standing for a particular cause. The movement has got a lot of support on the ground, and it could well translate into political success for them, at least in a limited way, in the early stages of the movement and the political alignments.
Krishna, what do you think, Krishna? Will it work?
You know, Arnab, I think we are jumping the gun a little too quickly, I think. You know, I'm just reading a PTI take sometime this evening, and I'm seeing Anna Hazare saying, quote, "It's time for us to think of an alternative. We want a political alternative, but I will not launch or join a party," unquote. So I think we need to have a few caveats here before we jump the gun and say that they are going to launch a party or not launch a party. I think we need to give credit to Anna Hazare and company for at least creating the kind of consciousness about corruption, for creating some awareness about corruption as an issue, about Lokpal and so on and so forth. But I think what you have seen in the last few hours is basically what one of your correspondents was saying, which is that this is a face saver. I think they have been driven to the wall. They had no option, and I think they have just been playing their cards too quickly, too fast, exposing all their trump cards and so on and so forth. So I think there's a sense of desperation you see in some of these moves in the last few hours. Will it work? I think, you know, your previous caller, which was Smita from New Delhi, I think, you know, I'd like to add a couple of things to what you said. I will like to give you the example of a lovely little party in Andhra Pradesh called the Lok Satta Party, which was set up by a man called Jayaprakash Narayan. Jayaprakash Narayan had outstanding credentials. Outstanding is the word to be used. He's a medical surgeon who became a civil servant, who launched a social group called the Lok Satta group, and then launched his own party. In the previous assembly elections in Andhra Pradesh, his party, the Lok Satta party, contested from 240 seats. And it won exactly one, and he was the sole winner of that party. And what I'm trying to say is that there's a big chasm between a social movement and a political movement, and I think Team Anna, for all its virtues, you know, is basically playing its, you know, cards too quickly. I think they've also learned the limits of sanctimony in a manner of speaking. I think they are really, you know, just reacting in a fashion in which, you know, I mean, they suffer from something called premature articulation, I think. And I think they really are talking too much, too fast, saying too many things. I think, you know, I mean, one of the reasons people liked this whole movement was because they were not politicians. You know, let's understand this. One was a police officer, one was an activist, one was a lawyer, etc., etc. So people liked them largely because they were a social group, not having the stigma of general politicians and political parties. And I think the moment you make this jump, and as Ambika Soni was rightly saying, you have revealed what was your Freudian intention in the very beginning, which is you had a political motive, and you seem to have now exposed that motive. And as one of your callers previously said, you know, sanctimony is not going to take you too far. Lokpal is not the only issue facing this nation. There are hundreds of issues. Where does this group stand on poverty, on Maoism, on Kashmir, on a hazard things in this country? And I think on those issues, this movement has absolutely no take. Frankly, each of them speak at cross purposes. They are always opposing each other, contradicting each other. Somebody or the other is, you know, the moment you hold up a mic, they have an opinion to offer. So I think they have plenty of foils for a political party to start with. And that said, we don't even know if they're going to start a political party. But if they do start a party, I can assure you they will be defeated in every single constituency. Make no mistake. This political system in India is not just about sanctimony. It's not just about, you know, saying the right things and so on and so forth. It's also about a lot of other things. And I don't think they have the oxygen, they have the stamina to last this course. And the reason you see these kinds of knee-jerk reactions from this team is frankly because they are running out of tricks to show before this country. And whatever you might say, I mean, you are all for corruption. Who wants to oppose corruption? Who wants to support corruption, or who wants to back the corrupt? No one wants to. But corruption is not the only issue. If you look at every single opinion poll in this country, corruption is usually the third or fourth or fifth factor when a voter makes up his mind to cast his ballot. So I don't think corruption alone is going to take this Team Anna too far. And frankly, Team Anna is a pretty poor name to start with if you're starting a political party.
Just want to add here, Arnav.
I want to try Mr. Shiv Khera once, because, you know, that presents the greatest challenge for me today, to connect to Shiv Khera. Shiv Khera, can you hear me? Did you hear what our panelists just said? It's one thing to, you know, get a few thousand people at Jantar Mantar, and it's another thing to create an infrastructure that is an electoral winning machine. Why is your team getting into this, you know, political game so directly? Mr. Khera.
Arnav, I could hear partly what you said and what the other gentleman said. If people are putting ulterior motives to Anna's and Anna's team, that they had a hidden agenda of political agenda to begin with, I think that is a very crooked way of interpreting what whoever is doing it. I don't think that was the agenda to begin with. I think they had a very pure agenda and nothing more. It has taken this turn. I think it is the turn that it has taken is a phenomenal and a wonderful turn that it has taken. And to say that they had this agenda to begin, I think it is devious minds who can think in those terms. It is the need of the hour. When you say, why now? My question is, why not now? We are already 65 years too late. And if corruption is, let's say, it's the 6th or 7th or 8th issue out of so many other issues, I think this is one of the major issues, the foundational issue, besides some of the other issues anyway. And the national security of this country today is being compromised because of corruption. Look at the 93 bombing that has come in and the judgments that have come in, that RDX was cleared through immigration and customs and escorted to site by people in uniform, and the money exchange was 20 lakhs. I mean, if this is not an issue, security of the nation, what is?
But there are people.
Much more. Even the,
but there are people.
Even the
there are people. Mr. Khera. Mr. Khera, there are people in your team, not your entire team, but there are people in your team, you know, who are sympathetic to Maoists, who are sympathetic openly to separatists in Kashmir. You talk of national security. Does your team have one view on these critical issues of national security? On Maoism, on Kashmir?
I'm not able to hear what you said, but Arnav, all I can say to you is that even Supreme Court judges have made statements that that nobody can save India. Even a judge of Supreme Court said that corrupt should be hanged from the lamppost at the India Gate. I mean, you are hearing statements of such frustration by judges from the Supreme Court. I mean, it has gotten to that level. I mean, what do you expect out of this country? Okay. And besides, all I can say to you is, if people talk of criminalization of politics, if judiciary had done the job right, you tell me one thing, how could you even have one criminal in the parliament today? If judiciary had done the job right. I mean, there are cases that are going for 10, 15, 20 years. The plaintiff is dead, defendant is dead, witness is dead, evidence is dead, file is eaten by cockroaches, and people should have been in jail, come out as heroes, and we name airports after them. This is ridiculous. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, people at the highest level are fed up, and they feel helpless. I mean, what are you looking for?
Okay.
I mean, this is outright destruction of this nation.
Okay.